elementary. I have to flee another state.
Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. There's more people who are supposed to be coming, but we don't want to keep you all any later than you are expecting to be out. But we are just really grateful that you're here. I know, okay, I might as well just tell you. This is Mackenzie. He's my service dog. So he's sitting here happy as could be. Anyway. And my husband will tell you that border collies are actually the, what do you call it?
The official breed.
The official breed of classical Christian education. If you've ever been in your gathering, you would have seen him in his mold out. But anyway, I'm good. So anyway, we're just grateful that you're here. And we have actually been working on what we're going to be talking about tonight for a lot of years, and really trying to think through how we do some different things to enhance what happens in our online classes. So my husband's going to come up, Marlon Delmore, and talk to you a little bit about what we've been thinking about.
Let me just do a couple things first. We are on a live feed. Thank you for joining us. We're recording this, so do keep, so that we are protected. Keep your children from running up here and looking in front of the camera. Because that requires a written release. Also, a couple recognitions. I don't think Adam Keffer made it to the. Martha Crane. Martha is right here. Martha is the head of school at Westminster Academy here in Tampa. Their name, where they were founded, was Berean Academy, and that goes back more than 30 years ago. Laurie and I had the pleasure of being a part of that start and helping the folks there.
A long time ago.
A long time ago. And Amanda Yeager, Amanda is in the back. Amanda is one of the teachers for us. She's taught for us for at least a decade. We now have 203 teachers teaching for us this year in our online school, with somewhere above 10,000 students taking classes. So thank you all for coming, and for those of you who are part of the Veritas family, or maybe looking at becoming part of the Veritas family, thank you for being here. Let me tell you that what I want to do tonight is ignite something that I think is now possible and really in history was never possible before, something that I think is a superior model to anything we've been able to do. We are here in Tampa for reasons that I'll tell you that are unique and specific. We believe that you are ideally situated. One of the things that helps us, though, is the availability of ESA funds that allow you to use what are state tax dollars in the state of Florida for the education of your children. We might think that the governor and the folks in Tallahassee are doing a really wonderful thing for us, and they are by making funds available. That was made possible by a Supreme Court ruling not long ago to allow it to be done in Christian funds to be used in Christian context. And it was done also because the money that they make available to us for our children is less than they have to pay if they go to the public schools, and so it's a deal for them too. So it's a financial motivation for the state. And so it's important to understand that it seems like that's here for a while. And one of the things that has been a really exciting thing for me in Florida and other states, there are currently 17 states that have different forms of ESA funds. And what's really exciting is that there is no limitation to it and no financial limitation in terms of income. Anybody with children can get them. What's also been a real blessing, when we started working in classical education, our first initiative was actually in Orlando with the school we started. And it was really heartbreaking to see people who wanted to get an education like this for their children but couldn't afford it. And that has been a problem since that year, 1993, to now. And now ESA funds are starting to change that for many people in many states. But that's not the real big deal. That greases the skids a bit, but that's not really what I'm excited about. I want to ask you a question. What is the most important part of education? Anybody want to volunteer and answer? Okay. Well, I'd be tempted. I got involved in education as a guy that had a real estate business because I wanted something better for my children, and because I read Recovering the Lost Tools of Learning, I said, that's what I want. I want this classical Christian education. And we might be, as people that are familiar with this educational model, we might think that that's the most important part of education. And I would say it's very important. I would say I would be doing what I'm doing if it weren't for that idea. But I don't think that's the most important part. At Veritas, now, since, let's see, for 29 years, we've been creating curriculum. The first things that we did were our history and Bible cards, and I went on from there with things like the omnibus, and we've become a full-service curriculum provider with hundreds of copyrights and a lot of others, best selected, best in class from other publishers. And we might say that the curriculum is the most important part of education. But now let me talk to you adults here who have been through basically all this classroom education you're going to be having in your life. How many of you can name the educational model that was used on you? I can't. How many of you can name the curriculum that was used on you? I can't. I'm getting one person raising their hand out of the entire room. It's not many, and I'm interested to hear more about that, but I want to get to the point. How many of you remember the great teachers you had? Everybody's nodding. Everybody remembers the great teachers. The great teachers have had an impact on our lives. I had the pleasure of hiring one of my great teachers. He's since passed, but he worked in our IT department for a decade. And it was so wonderful to be able to relate to him that way. He wasn't a Christian at the time. I had him, the first time I had him was in 7th grade math. He was a student teacher going to Franklin and Marshall College in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I was there for high school. He was a student teacher, and he was a character. I had him again then in 11th grade for another math class, and we really hit it off. I was part of a group of kids who loved math and were good at math, and it just stuck, and it made a lot of difference in a lot of ways. Teachers, I would tell you, are the most important part of education. Now, here's the plus of this, and you're going to hear the minus of this too. The plus of this is Veritas Scholars Academy, our online school, has the ability to hire teachers from anywhere in the world. Tampa's a big marketplace. We're here in Tampa tonight. Orlando's a big marketplace. New York is a lot bigger. Philadelphia, Miami, Dallas. I don't care what city you name. There is no way that if we're careful about our hiring, we can't have a better collection of teachers than any specific, any geographic marketplace because of our ability to hire teachers, not just all over the country, but all over the world. And we do that, and we do it selectively. There are 3 of us involved in the final interview of every teacher. I think I've gone through over 1,000 teacher interviews already. And the one thing that I keep asking is that teacher, or will that teacher become a world-class teacher? And we expect that to be the case. That is not the case in any bricks and mortar school that I've ever seen. And if the teacher's the most important part of education, and we have the best collection of teachers that anybody can put together, we feel like academically we're really in a very good place. And some of you have experienced that, and I hope you'll agree with me. But I mentioned that there's also a downside, and that is the Veritas Scholars Academy, the school under Veritas Press, has yet to win its first football game. And it never will. That's a different issue. But we have a problem. Laurie and I both were involved heavily in athletics. I hope this doesn't come across badly, but you may not have ever met a couple where both of them were state champs. She was a state champ runner out of Miami, the 400 meter, and I won the state golf championship in Pennsylvania. Athletics and extracurriculars run deep in our family and with our children, and we think, as we've observed this, I didn't believe this when we first got involved in classical education, but I started to see that extracurriculars, and not just sports, but the performing arts and other things, are the glue around which community is built. And so as we started seeing scale happen in various marketplaces, we thought, wouldn't it be incredible? Wouldn't it be the best of all worlds? Have the best education we can because of the best teachers from all over the world involved in the education of your children, and then in a local area, be able to say, and by the way, we will also have a community in Tampa, in wherever, where the density allows us to have a baseball team, a choir, a golf team, whatever it might be that the community wants to support. It is my estimate that in terms of having a real robust collection of extracurriculars, we need about 200 students in 7th through 12th grade participating, and they need to generally live within a reasonable drive distance of a central point where practices and games can happen. Different markets across America have different drive times. In Lancaster, Pennsylvania, that's only about 20 minutes. In Orlando, it's 3 days. Yeah, but it's probably 40, 45 minutes. Tampa, I'm going to guess, is 30 to 45 minutes. Houston is going to be 45 minutes to an hour. The market tolerates different drive times to get to a central point to do those kinds of things. So now, the question is, why are we here tonight in Tampa? Well, with ESA funds as an opportunity that takes away the concern of how do I pay for it, we said it makes sense for us to look at our density markets in Florida. So we did that. We drew by zip codes an area around a good central point. We got help from a friend of ours to understand that a bit better. And guess what? Tampa is not only the most dense area for people that we correspond with in terms of within our sphere, but it might be the most dense area of anywhere that we have in the world. And that was really convenient, really cool, because in the wintertime, or for about 7 months, most of the school year, my wife and I live about an hour and a half from here. So we thought, wow, this is the place to start. So here we are, looking for you to bring your friends and your families to build what we want to call, I call it an alpha community, but in the world of alpha and beta testing, beta sorts of things, I'm finding that they use the term alpha more for internal, inside the company testing. I'm using it a little differently than that, sorry, but I'm choosing to. So what we're doing tonight is asking you, if you're interested, to provide us the information that we need about you to help build the idea of what we will do with this alpha community in Tampa. In the bag that you have is a single-page information sheet that relates to tonight. There's some other information in there too, but that has a QR code on it. That will lead you to a survey which will allow you to register yourself, your children, their interests, and a couple other things. So I would encourage you to use that QR code and fill out that survey. I would also ask you, if you're as excited about this as I am, to tell your friends who might also be interested in being a part of this about it and share it with them. The Veritas Press Facebook page will have information with a link to the survey also, and it'll be available for a couple weeks. So you can send it to them that way. If you can't get them the QR code, I think you could probably take a picture of that and send it to them, but that would probably work. But what we're trying to do is, from this very small beginning, is become a representative community that we can use to model to cause us to go from more than 10,000 students to more than 100,000 students across the globe, and particularly in the United States. Because, as we've seen, especially in the last few months, with the very unfortunate events around Turning Point and Charlie Kirk's demise, we've seen that what's going on is worth the effort. It's worth the risk. It's worth digging in. Our mission is restoring culture to Christ, one young heart and mind at a time. And while we work arm in arm with schools like Westminster and Pi Beta, who are classical schools here, we're about seeing the world grow in its love and service to our Lord Jesus Christ. So that's what we're doing. That's what we've got here. Now, we have somebody that's scheduled to be here, and I don't know what happened. He's a lawyer that works for the National Center for Life and Liberty. He's a friend of ours, and he's been very involved in Veritas over the years in a number of respects. He was originally a marketing consultant that we worked with, and now we work with him in a number of different ways. I'm sorry he hasn't been able to make it, but he has very close relationships with a number of the organizations that provide sports leagues opportunities for us, things that we can work with. So there are all kinds of possibilities there. We may still hear from him yet tonight. I don't know if something happened. I haven't heard from him, so I don't know what's going on. But we're already making plans for what might be of interest to you and your children. The other thing, I don't know if there's anybody here or anybody listening. We're looking for people who want to volunteer. I want to volunteer for field trips. I want to volunteer to coach. And then we also have something, this is all in the survey that you can respond to, an opportunity because we need a local paid position community director. The position needs to be shaped with them. It has a number of different moving parts, and this is an alpha environment, so we've got to think about a lot of different things, and we want somebody on the ground to help us shape that. So we're looking for a staff person that you might be interested in, or you might have somebody to recommend. All can be produced and provided to us through the survey, through the QR code, or the link that will be available online on Facebook, and probably go out to email for this group. Now, I don't want to talk all night, and I imagine I've raised some thoughts that might be some questions. So I'm going to ask Laurie to come up here, if she can, and hopefully Mac will behave with her, because I want to give you a chance to ask questions or give us some thoughts, because this is an initiative that starts here, starts now, and you have a chance to help shape it. Are there thoughts or questions? Yes.
I'd be happy to share a thought for a second. So we're new to the area, but we
For
spent...
those of you that can't see because of the camera, this is Amanda Yeager. She teaches Omnibus 2 primary and Omnibus 5 secondary for Veritas, and she has been a resident of Canada and has recently moved to Davenport, Florida. And for those of you who don't know where Davenport is, think I-4 and 27.
And her son is the president of which class?
11th grade president
There you
here,
go.
10th grade vice president. And
There you go.
So we have the
7th
11th
grade
grade
secretary.
president of Veritas College Academy class, and did you say 7th grade?
10th 10th grade vice
I'm sorry.
president,
10th grade vice president.
and 7th grade secretary over
Very
there.
good.
Yeah, they're all at it, yeah.
Excellent.
So we've actually, the last 2 years we were in North Carolina and happened to find ourselves in a little neighborhood where there were a lot of homeschool families
Yeah.
who, by God's providence, also had kids at Veritas. And we got to experience some very fun things with the kids would get together to do their biology dissections
Yeah.
and could study for exams together. And it was such a blessing and such a treat to have them have that like neighborhood connection and local connection, even with the high caliber of the online education. So when we heard about this, I jumped because I can just attest to how great it is to be able to complement the online class with the in-person interaction.
Absolutely.
I didn't fully unpack this when I said it earlier, but it is out of extracurriculars that real community tends to be developed. The kids that I can't say kids, I'm 69 years old. The classmates that I had in high school are entirely kids I played basketball and golf with on the sports team. Those are the kids those are the old men that I still have contact with. And that says something about what we're talking about here. Now, I do think there's something very unique here at Veritas, and I am amazed at how much community really is built through an online school. And if I could tell you some of the stories of things that happen with kids getting together and relationships being built, families being built now for marriages, is very unbelievable. We think that a local expression of communities, along with the best category of teachers, a great curriculum, and the best educational pedagogy that we believe has ever been created, together makes an institution that's never been possible before.
So I'll just say this now. You said about, doing your science, your labs together. That is awesome. Great idea. The other thing that I'm wanting to do, and I'll just tell you, I don't get hands-on. I do lots of writing of curriculum, and I do lots of advising, but I don't get real hands-on with kids anymore. And it's been a while, but I'm willing to do this. But anyway, because I believe in this project so much, and that is, we talked about getting together, like for those of you doing self-paced history, and doing the history projects together, because I, like you, had that same experience in homeschooling. When we homeschooled, I had another family that I homeschooled with, and we did, this was way back before Veritas was started, and so we did a lot of things together, and it's just great. Like you said, we have amazing teachers. When you can have teachers from all over the world, it's amazing, but it's great to get together to do things. So the other thing I'll just throw in, look at your calendars, because we are going to be hosting another event in Tampa. We're going to try to do a few things throughout this next few months. It'll be a field trip kind of thing, a fun thing just to get families and children together, to try to just really get this off the ground. Like Marlon said, we don't live far from here, so it makes it pretty convenient to do. And I'm hoping to get my grandchildren down here to be part of it too. So, did you tell me to say something else that I didn't hear? No.
I referred to a document that has a QR code on it. In case you have any trouble, there aren't that many things in your bag, but it's this document, and at the top, QR code right where my finger is. It's a very easy survey, Survey Monkey, and it will provide the information that will really help us. And not only you, but the people that you might encourage to provide us that information because they'd like to be a part of it too. We really, I would love to see a group of hundreds of students in the 26-27 school year being a part of what we're talking about. And I think you would find it very lovable too. Yes?
So the go live date, that would be next year. Is that the goal? Is
The question of when to go live, the question I would put back is, what does it mean to go live? There are a couple things that I would say are conditions precedent to really having it be going. One would be to have the community director working on the ground. The things that we can do in the meantime, and we plan to, while we seek a recruit for a candidate, and while we prepare for it, the first thing is what Laurie just said, the idea of some field trips and maybe some other types of events like that. But getting enough scale to see where the interests are, in real practical terms, if you have children in, say, 9th grade and above, and they're going to be involved in extracurriculars, if they're involved in theater, they're pretty set with what they're doing in theater. If they're involved in sports, they probably have a sports outlet. But the middle school or junior high children are a little bit different. They're still in what we might call developmental category, and it's a perfect time to start getting them together, getting them ready, and so moving them along, having them ready for junior varsity and varsity level sports. And so we're going to be very dependent on what we do as to what the interests are here. But we're prepared to do a lot of things. There are a couple of things we would find very hard to do. It would be, I said something about the Veritas football team. It would be very hard to pull off football. The liability and cost is quite significant. But there are very few other sports that are like that. Basketball, baseball, track and field, soccer, all of those sports are relatively inexpensive to carry out. And we want to see a quality of extracurriculars that matches the quality of our teachers. Because we think that glorifying God is by doing our best, even in recreational activities and other things like that. So I would say, and Anthony, more specific to answer your question, some things will happen this year, and how fast it goes remains to be seen. Other questions?
Is the focal point athletics, or is it a blend of field trips and getting together, or is it driven by athletics?
Well, that's a very
not
good
just
question.
driven by athletics.
And Laurie said yes, meaning all of the above.
Right.
Okay.
But here's the point. If you have very young children, they're not in the category of competitive sports. They may be in a developmental category. We have a son who was very involved in theater. We love the idea of seeing that develop. Even in young grades, it can be done if there are enough people to do it. Choir, orchestra, band, all those kinds of things make a lot of sense, and there are a lot of wonderful outlets for us as an organization to be able to perform and enjoy what we put together as a group. The real answer to the question is this. We have a whole list of things. On that survey, you'll see only a partial list as kind of a starting point of things to consider. The real answer is, what does this community support with the group of people that are ready to go?
And what do they want? Like, that's the way, right?
Yeah, what is wanted
Right.
and what is supported is really the answer. It's conceivable to me that a community that might grow up in this initiative might have no sports, and it's conceivable to me that it might be only sports. It doesn't matter. Our primary objective is not to have a state championship baseball team. Our primary objective is to build community around the extracurriculars that are the kinds of places that most of us had the community that we grew up with built around. Any other questions? Yes.
Just maybe two thoughts. One, there's already a lot of competition in the area for just sports in general. Like you mentioned soccer. My kids are at soccer practice right now, 2 different teams. I mean, you can't even make it to all the tryouts. There's so many soccer teams, right? So there's already competition around what you're kind of describing. But then second, there's sort of competition for the kids' time, right? So when are we, going to get together and do all these wonderful things? I can tell you my kids really, really miss being around other kids. But maybe not doing something very targeted like soccer, because they already do that, but just overall like PE, things that they miss, just, and that would be a wonderful base for all sports,
Yeah.
right? All kids, different ages, girls and boys together.
Yeah.
So maybe not so targeted, which would be great to have a
Please
baseball
give us
team,
that
but
feedback.
things like
Yeah,
that support
please give
all
us
of that.
that feedback on the survey. That really plays into the fact that we know there have been a lot of options along the way. Here's how we can be different though. If your children are currently taking online classes and they've gotten to know other children in the class, but they're here in Tampa and their friends now live in Cleveland and in Warsaw, Poland, and in Sydney, Australia, and in Sacramento, California, they can develop a wonderful relationship. But imagine a collection of 4th grade, 9th grade, whatever kids who decide they're going to have the same schedule together or classes together and play together on the same sports teams, whatever it is. We're not trying to be an option in the same way that many of the sports programs are for children. What we're trying to be is a community connector for the broader Veritas community. And for some people, the children will be beyond that with what they've developed. That was my point in talking about the high school age kids who have already found their niche. In your case, maybe the children are younger, but have still found their niche. And yet there may be other things that would interest them also. So we have no need for a child to forsake everything else that he's doing to be part of this. But we want to create an environment that allows for the face-to-face community interaction around extracurriculars for kids that are part of our online program. Yes?
Just to kind of piggyback off of that, one thing though that would be different is, my kids are all in sports too, but it's all in the evening. I would love to have something in morning or afternoon. I'd love to be able to have that community, and plus, like you said, the community with other homeschoolers and stuff as well. And then, to still have the competitive nature, if we could get involved with other
We want it to be
homeschoolers.
competitive, but we also recognize that when you're with the kids that we've been blessed to have as part of Veritas, we're the kids that are of great character also, and that's not always the case in community sports as well. Another potential downside.
I also had a question though, do you have like a central, like what you consider a central location to, like the people that you're trying to get, like is there central location like right here, or is it more like in the middle of Hillsborough County?
We don't have a selected central location. The help that we got on selecting the hotel was working with someone who was also trying to help us get a church. And there wasn't a church available to us to do this meeting at that we thought centrally located. But the answer is, again, it's going to depend on who says, I want to be a part of this. One of the beautiful things about technology is we can put your address on a map and literally put your drive time into any given point and be able to aggregate that and average it and minimize it. Being a student like that is just a natural part of being in business in the 21st century. So I don't know where it will fall, and I can certainly imagine that you might have access to athletic fields at a place that's 10 or 15 minutes away from a place where you have access to music rooms or a theater environment. That's really going to have to be an on-the-ground thing. Laurie and I are not very familiar with Tampa, so if you ask us specific geographic areas that you've got, or specific geographic questions that you've got to, I don't know how to do that. Yeah. Well, that's what we wanted to have you here tonight. I hope you'll share our excitement, our vision, encourage your friends to join us. This will be recorded. It is recorded, I'm sorry. It's being played live on YouTube right now, but we'll have it posted so that people can see it. And we'll have a way for other people to fill out the survey. Please be encouraged to have your friends and people that you know might be interested participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.